Hey guys, welcome to episode 100. I am excited to be here. I hope you are too. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining me. If you are listening on the audio version, again, these might be a little out of order, but I wanted to record this because this is my 100th kind of live episode that I'm doing on other channels, but technically it's the 100th recorded episode. So it'll air sooner on the audio platform. Sorry for the confusion there. But I wanted to take this chance. Episode 100, a little bit of a milestone. I'm really excited to be here. I've learned a ton from the first 100 episodes, had some amazing guests on. I started just kind of trying to share some basic clinical information that I think would help folks. I might go back to that to some extent. I thought that got some good traction. I moved away from it, focused on guests. So I changed the name from Bo Knows Stuff to Bo Knows Health. So trying to change some things. But for anyone out there, I wanted to reintroduce myself a little bit. My name is Dr. Bo Babenko. I'm a physical therapist, DPT. That's the doctorate. I got my doctorate in 2008, Brooklyn, Long Island University. I'm a New York kid. I got my Yankees polo on right here. I'm a New York Jets fan, unfortunately. That's been a rough over a decade of not making the playoffs. But got a little hope finally. Hopefully doesn't break my heart yet again. But little hope for that. I developed a passion for fitness early on, from my family. I've shared that story before. My mother is very into health aspects and improving longevity and things like that. I definitely learned a lot from her. My father, unfortunately, passed away of a heart attack at 41. I am 38 as of recording this. So it's been a passion and a driving force for me to say, can we avoid things like heart attacks and chronic disease? And the more I learned about health and wellness, the more I realized we should be able to control a lot of these things. Talking about genetics, epigenetics, things like that. So my name is Bo, and that led to body optimization. It's a concept that I really believe in and want to share with the world as a physical therapist, as a fitness trainer. And I've been trying to find my kind of voice in between the fitness space, the healthcare space. I named my business Fit Care Physio to say that if you focus on fitness, you can avoid the healthcare space. So that's kind of been the focus of a lot of my show here. It's been a selfish venture to have this episode 100. All these episodes have been very, very selfish of me, getting guests on, amazing people, being able to connect with a lot of industry leaders. I'm very excited for the next 100 episodes and beyond. But looking back at some of the best episodes, I threw this out there of anyone who wanted to ask me any questions on this episode 100. Dave Kittle, who was a guest on recently, and so far my interactions with him has been super duper awesome. He asked me 2 questions, so I want to answer those before I proceed with any other updates here. So the first one was basically, what is the best body weight exercise if you had to choose one? He threw out burpees. I would say it's something where you're going to be able to move all the way up and down, similar to a burpee. There's a lot of variations you could do on a burpee, but ultimately I would say it is going to be more of a Turkish getup. If you even do that without weight, with really good intention, you're moving through versions of a squat and a lunge, and it's kind of a cheating answer because it's a very complex movement. There's a number of steps as you go through it. If you've ever played with it, if you haven't, check out my channel wherever you're watching this, and I can link probably somewhere below to the demonstration of a Turkish getup. But that's kind of the best movement. Obviously, if we load it, it makes it 1,000 times better. But even without weight, I think that concentrating on those moves is going to get us moving better. The burpee does move us through a good range of motion. However, it doesn't quite move us into 3 dimensions. It's kind of very forward, backward. If you're going for a cardio effect, you might as well run, but there's a lot more to that. So yes, Dave, thank you for that question. Best body weight exercise. I'm going to go with the Turkish getup, starting from the ground and working through a very intentional kind of movement pattern. There's a few other fun ones that we could think of, but I think that gives me the biggest bang for my buck is the Turkish getup. The other question he asked me that I wanted to make sure I attacked on here is when I have injuries or in general, what do I do with my body? Do I go to a physical therapist? And I do not discriminate between physical therapists, chiropractors, acupuncturists, anyone who is in the personal training, massage therapy space. I'm always just happy to find somebody who aligns with some of my values in terms of trying to address underlying causes. And I think there's a lot of benefit from folks who work with the human body in a lot of different ways. So yeah, I've been here in Colorado a little over almost a year and a half, I would say. And I've had a few small injuries, luckily, knock on wood. Nothing too serious. I had one ski injury that was a little scary, and chiropractor, Dr. Bob in Boulder, who I took the dry needling course with. As soon as I moved here, I got dry needling certified. It's the first time I've lived in a state where I'm allowed to get certified for dry needle in California and New York. Long story there of physical therapists are not allowed to put needles in people. Again, long story. I think we've touched on that in a few episodes, and very interesting stuff. So to answer Dave's kind of question was, who do I go to for my body, or do I go to a physical therapist? I try to do as much self-maintenance as I can. Obviously, I have a good amount of knowledge. I've thrown this kind of concept out there that I've spent over $500,000 learning how the human body works. I use a lot of my own self-myofascial release kind of things, whether it's cupping, voodoo bands, foam rolling, just keeping a movement practice that addresses a lot of these different kind of concepts. And I'm just trying to always be more and more aware of my body, especially as I go towards 40 years old. It's a nice milestone there, coming up relatively soon. So yeah, hope that answers your questions, Dave. Thank you for the questions. And other things going on, I'll share kind of off of that last bit a little bit about my own training. I've been trying to stay very consistent with keeping my body healthy. Obviously, a lot of the things I do, I talk about my 5 pillars of health, and I try to embody all 5 of those pillars and be on top of as much of that as possible. So the first one being movement, a movement practice. I'm trying to stay as constantly varied as possible. I do love the concept of CrossFit. I'm still exploring different CrossFits in the area. I'm trying to work with a few different ones to make sure I'm helping out their members, bringing value there, and just the movement practice in general. I've been on my own recently, got back to swimming a little bit, which I used to love doing triathlon. I grew up Coney Island in Brooklyn, and would love going to the beach. Again, my mom would swim pretty much all year round almost. So that's kind of in my DNA to some extent. And so, yeah, the pool here, community pool, just opened up. So it's free. And, if you go during the day, you get a lot of kids here, but, so it's it can be a little crowded and noisy, but, if you're just doing laps and you're doing, 30 minutes of that kind of thing, shouldn't be an issue. So I'm finding, my rhythm back with swimming, just did a few of those, finding my rhythm with CrossFit. We obviously hike a lot. I got Lexi here. She's kind of passed out behind me. And so, trying to find, ways to walk with her, whether I have a vest on, and just getting the most out of my time walking. A lot of times I'll listen to podcasts, and think of some of my ideas for future episodes and things like that. On that note, if you have a guest that you'd love to get on here for me to talk to, someone you're a fan of, or you want to jump on this podcast, again, I love having these conversations. So much so that I started a second podcast, if you guys aren't aware, the Demand Better podcast with my buddy David Corona, personal trainer back in New York City, Upper East Side. And recently we've been having one of my best friends, Faraz Javed, a reporter, award-winning reporter, WXYZ Detroit, ABC affiliate. So he's been guest starring on a lot of our episodes that we've been doing, enjoying that flow of conversation and trying to just coordinate some of the big concepts that we're talking about, trying to serve as a consumer's guide for health and wellness concepts. So we did Demand Better from personal trainers, some of the things we see wrong with that. So that's when we record our first episode. Second episode was Demand Better from physical therapists. So something that we'll probably come back to, lessons learned from the way we're presenting these things. And again, it always means a lot when a listener of the podcast reaches out, leaves a review, or just directly reaches out and gives us some feedback of things we could have done better. Always looking to improve, as I always say, 1% better every day, every podcast. So other things with my own training to finish that, chapter of this episode is my first ski season in the books here in Colorado, my first ski season ever. I did have, again, a little bit of a MCL strain, and shout out to James Spencer over in Aspen, who is one of the most knowledgeable physical therapists I know. He did a virtual assessment on me, as I do virtual assessments on a lot of folks. Again, going back to Dave Kittle's question about, how do I take care of my body? So James is, again, one of the more knowledgeable physical therapists I know, has been very active in the APTA, and that's how I met him in the student assembly back when I was a student. He was a year older than me. We did have a bet going about the Red Sox versus the Yankees this year. So far, it's looking pretty good for my Yankees. Possibly one of the more historic, successful seasons in baseball history. So hopefully that they keep that up, but looking pretty good so far. James, we never set a what the terms of that bet would be, but we have a bit of a lead, so I'm happy to give you a little bit of a handicap on that if that's still something you want to do. But yeah, and the Celtics hopefully lose in the NBA Finals. As a New Yorker, I cannot come to ever root for any Boston team. I've been impressed with some of their play and their defense overall, but yeah, I'm always rooting against Boston. So there's that. New York, always in my heart. Coming back to that, so the MCL luckily was not that bad of an injury. Definitely tweaked it, ended my season, but got to learn a lot with understanding how to measure skis, how to change settings on the skis, how to better train for the demands of skiing and snowboarding. My wife snowboards, Dr. Maha. Who I believe I haven't said much about on this episode, but definitely want to applaud her for everything she does for me as a partner, as my wife, as the mother to our dog, and all that good stuff. So excited to see where these next few months go. The other thing she got me into, and since we moved out here to Colorado, is rock climbing. And I recently had a few guests on about different ways to think about rock climbing from a physical therapy standpoint, from a loading standpoint. Again, I had a little pulley injury, and thank you to a few of my hand therapy friends who were able to refer me to different ways to approach that the most intelligently. I am not a hand specialist. There's a lot of little bones and muscles in the hands and pulleys that we need to take care of. So I might go rock climbing a little later today, but it's been a fun journey with rock climbing because you can really see the grades. You start at 9s and then you go to 10s, and then there's 10A, 10B, 10C, 10D, or 10 minus, 10, 10 plus. And I'm finally I'm going into the 11s now. And it's fun, and it's really cool to see the progression there from a learning and playing new sports concept. So again, been really enjoying that, and excited to see if I can get into some 12s at some point. Might take another year, I don't know, but it's also been fun meeting people in that environment because folks tend to be very, very cool, especially out here in Colorado. Met a lot of very cool folks. So that's been a little bit about my own movement practice. Again, I'm all about longevity. So as I mentioned, trying to do all these things and build capacity. Another thing that's had me motivated recently is my Whoop band, and I got a little toothpaste on there. I'll have to clean that off. But Dr. Teresa Larson, who I've had on my 2 out of my first 100 episodes here, she got me into one of her Men Talking Mindfulness groups. I'm hoping John McCaskill, who is the host of that podcast or co-host, where that connection through the Marines that they have, hopefully he'll come on as a guest. But she got me into their group in Whoop, so you can look at how everyone else is recovering, what their strain looks like, so you can see their numbers, have conversations about it. And I've also introduced that whole group to LMNT, which I'm a big fan of. I work with them. I don't have any handy right here, but those little electrolyte packs, I post about it on my social media pretty frequently, and hoping to get Rob Wolf on the podcast. So again, huge fan of Rob Wolf, been for a long time. 2 of my favorite books when it comes to health, wellness. And one thing I really love about him is his willingness to adapt as new evidence comes to light, and he's willing to change his opinion on certain things and learn from the data. So something I'm very, very excited about is again, just LMNT, sharing LMNT with folks. I take at least one a day packet. It has 1,000 milligrams of sodium, especially up here in Colorado. I have found it to be a huge game changer for my health, for my fitness, and those that I've introduced it to who get on board, especially if they're eating a very low carb lifestyle, they tend to not take in enough sodium. So the more active you are, the more sodium you need. That's a whole separate episode and things that, again, I try to talk about on my social media. The other big thing that I've been jazzed about for a long time now, and I will continue to be, and just continues to blow my mind how many people don't do this right and how many people can quickly adapt to it, is just the breathing concept. And we just talked about this on the most recent Demand Better episode about stress. And one of the best ways to manage your stress is to breathe deeper and make sure you're not breathing up here in your chest, that you're taking these deep belly breaths. So in general, breathing is a concept I love. As I continue to explore how the body works, between dry needling, between the fitness side of it, improving folks' cardiovascular health, and strength and conditioning is the term we kind of use. Breathing is almost always the first thing I want to assess on humans. The only ones who kind of understand and can really access their deep belly breathing is generally going to be performers, because it's hard to sing and be efficient without accessing your diaphragm muscle, which should be your primary muscle of inspiration of breathing. So to finish off, top 5, again, pillars of health that we talk about. And I've had Stephen Horney on a few episodes. Recently did a rapid fire one that if you guys haven't checked out, would love to get your thoughts on that, where we just try to go 90 seconds per topic, and knock out a bunch of really good information, hoping to chock full that episode, make it chock full of info. But yeah, top 5 pillars of health. I bring that up because he has his 8 foundations of health. There's a lot of similarities and parallels to what we're talking about. So top 5 pillars of my kind of thing I look at is, again, the movement practice we talked about, the nutrition side of it, which is so big. And again, anytime I start going down that path, I just want to go down all these different aspects. The big thing for me there that I'll share with most folks is there's not great understanding of macronutrients. Again, if folks want to lose weight, they tend to focus on calories rather than actually eating more protein is going to have a lot of these hormonal and psychological benefits. Eating enough protein will generally not be a lot of calories and make you feel more full. So there's my kind of cheat sheet to nutrition. And then the other big one there is just thinking about quality over quantity as you get more advanced in your nutritional kind of concept. So big thing I've been pushing recently, here's my little infomercial, is 90 days with me, one-on-one. You get an hour call up front, you get 15 minutes every week, and then you're getting daily touch points from me online. The goal after 90 days is for you to have a much more sustainable approach towards nutrition. I'm still working on the marketing, and I'm ready to admit any day, time, week is my marketing will always probably be one of my weakest qualities. I just like to talk about all this stuff. I know what I do. I know how to do it. But yeah, from a marketing standpoint, how to get that into a simple format, whether it's an Instagram post or, everyone's saying, get on TikTok. I'm not there yet. So yeah, a lot more I could be doing with marketing, and I've been in PT mastermind groups and had business coaches, and something I will readily admit is one of my bigger weaknesses. But nutrition still coming back to as the second pillar. Third pillar is recovery. So I mentioned about, my own PT kind of body management. So whether that's, again, foam rolling, cupping, voodoo bands, all these little things, dry needling myself if there's something going on, keeping an eye on my Whoop for recovery, all these different things for recovery. Again, sleep, cocktails. I use the sauna 3 times a week. I just went last night. Protocol I used there was 20 minutes as it was heating up between like 70 and 85 degrees Celsius. I spent 10 minutes walking around to cool off, and then went back in about 15 minutes between 100 and 110 degrees Celsius. That was intense. So I'm going to keep building that up as part of my overall health picture, which is kind of where, again, I wanted to just share these concepts with you guys. So those are the 3 main kind of body focused, again, a movement practice, nutritional aspects, and then recovery, how they all kind of work together. And then the other two on the more kind of mind side, I guess, is mindset. And again, the big one there is growth versus fixed mindset. Identity, so changing your language and identity to go more towards the concept of saying, I am someone who will go to the sauna 3 times a week because that's who I am. It's not, I'm hoping to get there. It's not, setting goals that way. It's, I am that person who posts about it. And, whether it becomes kind of annoying to people, that's okay with me. My body's happy. And no matter what life throws at us, if you are that person who does that thing, you identify as that, it's a much more powerful game changer when it comes to setting new goals or new habits, building new habits. So mindset is the 4th kind of pillar. And the 5th one is connection, which is, again, why I do this podcast. I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you listening, watching. I appreciate the guests that come on here more than you guys will ever know. But yeah, I've formed much deeper bonds by talking to some of these folks. Really, and again, just very excited for the next 100 episodes. Can't wait. I just can't wait. So yeah, connection is a phenomenal aspect of our health that tends to not be talked about very much. And actually just finished a book called Together, which is by Vivek Murthy, the 19th Surgeon General of the United States of America. And he wrote the book and it got published right before lockdown. So I think he did a little addendum in the preface on the audiobook anyway, which is what I listened to as they published it in March or April of 2020. So it was something he was already talking about. And the really stark statistic there is for every day of loneliness that somebody experiences, it's the equivalent of smoking about 15 cigarettes physiologically in terms of the negative implications on our health. So there's some powerful stuff there. And, if you're listening to this and you ever need someone to talk to for any reason or need to get sent over to another resource, I am always happy and always here. That's something that was going around during lockdown. And again, I just always want to be able to share that concept. I hope no one ever hesitates to reach out, or if they need another resource, I'll always throw out that I'm happy to be here and chat and again, connect folks with other resources that I've been building over the years to make sure that, connection is something that we prioritize. Again, something I try to talk about with every single one of my clients in the sense that, hey, how are your relationships this week? Have you had connections? Have you touched base with family, loved ones? If that's not something you have, again, let's see if there's ways you can start to build those kinds of connections and relationships. But yeah, it's something that gets overlooked in our overall health, and it's easy to focus on what are the best ways to treat back pain. Should we just focus on getting stronger, or the McKenzie approach, or just unloading tissue, or doing a chiropractic adjustment? Are these the ways that we're going to address low back pain? And again, there's the biopsychosocial model, the way we experience pain, we adapt to pain, all these different ways to think about the human body. I said this a long time ago. I'm going to share this as kind of a closing thought here as I'm wrapping up. Episode 100 is that I will never be bored in my life because the human body has so many different ways to approach it. Even from these 5 topics I just mentioned, I could probably spend the next 20 years at least never revisiting a single topic or speaking about it the same way. If I just every single day, went through each of those 5 kind of concepts, the 5 pillars, and then just went down different rabbit holes on each one. So, and by the time we got to the end of that, there'd be 20 more years worth of new stuff. So it's really fun. I'm on my next episode 101. I'm interviewing a physical therapy student who I saw on Twitter kind of complaining about her career path and seeing the pay rates and what she's going through now and paying for pretty expensive education. I was very happy to have gotten my student loans paid off in about 10 years, actually. But yeah, should I have saved that money? Are there other ways we could have gone about that? I lived a pretty pretty fun 10 years post graduating, very cool experiences. Got to work with a celebrity as his private physical therapist, travel with him for a few months, getting ready for a total hip replacement. Got to go to Dubai where I met my lovely wife as a doctor of physical therapy and in the CrossFit space. So I've been to hundreds of CrossFit gyms since around 2010. What's up, Dave? #live. I answered your question, so you got to go back and listen to those answers. So sorry if you just jumped on, but I did answer your questions, Dave. So appreciate you being there live, though. So yeah, I was just finishing up that thought, just reflecting on a fun career to this point, and just again can't tell you how excited I am for the next 100 episodes. Hope we get some repeat guests on, like Dave there, who's tuning in from LinkedIn. And I'm just excited to meet a lot more folks in the industry, and someone like Shane McLean, who features me on some of his articles in Muscle and Fitness and things like that, and through Barbend, where he used to work, and he connected me with Jason Leonards, who has become, I'd like to say, a nice pen pal at this point, and you know, just clearly a quality human being. I got both of his books. Waiting to get Shane on here. So Shane, if you're watching, I'd love to get you on here as well. Appreciate you connecting me with guys like Jason and other folks like so many to name. I'm just gonna wrap it up. I feel like this is a bad Oscars acceptance speech, and hopefully nobody gets slapped. Bad jokes 2022 is what we're in. Was that the Will Smith thing? Time is such a weird thing, but yeah, nobody smack anyone, and unless they really deserve it. If they really deserve it, I you know, it is what it is. But yeah, we're living in a crazy time. I'm gonna wrap it up there before I say something else that I probably shouldn't have said. But yes, appreciate you guys being here, making it through this kind of solo cast, random ramblings. If you're new to the show, don't forget to subscribe, like, share. Hopefully you got something out of it. If you can leave a rating, a review on whatever podcast platform, Apple and Spotify, of course, the most powerful ones. If you have accounts there, please leave a review. 5-star review would mean the world to me. It helps the show grow. It helps us reach more people. Again, if you have ideas or specific questions when it comes to the human body, I'd like to think, you know, we're going to cover all things health, especially under those 5 pillars of health. So yeah, if you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll see you guys next time. I hope you got 1% better, at least from this episode. I know I did. So I will see y'all next time. Check out my other podcast, Demand Better, as well. And we're going to go live. Our next episode, as of recording this, is we're going to talk about demanding better from hormones and endocrinologists. So we're gonna go down that path, where hopefully we can again clarify some big issues that get lost in some capacities. Peace, homie. Thanks, and we'll talk to y'all next time. Bye. Get 1% better.